Learning N10 and implementing N10 will not make you millionaire in 1 year. I know everyone is talking about it and it might be controversial, but hear me out. For the background, I have worked as a tech consultant on some high profile projects, and I've also done freelancing and provided tech solutions in the past. So I fairly know what I'm talking about. And while working on these projects, I noticed that there are two kinds of consultants that I've seen operating in this space. First kind is somebody who would look at the business problem, go deeper into the business processes and the problems, go back, do their research, find the best possible solution, come back and suggest the solution that would solve the problem in the simplest and the easiest and the fastest manner. And then there are the second kind of consultants who have a very deep understanding of one particular tool. And if that solves the problem of the business, it works really great because you don't need any expert in the house. You get that person to really build strong systems for you. Now, nothing is wrong in being either of these consultants. It really depends on how you want to shape your career and sail your ship. Now, the things that I've observed is that if you are the first kind of a consultant, then you really understand the business problems and you sometimes are agnostic and you're never biased towards any tool. So you really are very transparent and there's not like you don't have an affinity towards any specific tech solution. What you end up doing is you take the problem and really like brainstorm with respect to whatever is possible out in the world and which can serve as the best possible solution to that problem. Now, what that does is it really sometimes help solve the problem in the easiest and the simplest manner. Sometimes I have worked with companies who have very complex business processes, and in the first go, you would think that, oh my God, the solution has to be this complex. But when you break down the requirements, you realize, okay, the solution can be very easy. It doesn't have to be complicated. In fact, it needs to simplify their process and provide the best possible solution. Whereas the issue with the second kind of consultant, I've seen that they sometimes fall into the trap of looking at the problem with a solution of the tool in their mind. And it happened to me as well because I was deep into one tool at a particular phase in my career, and every problem that came my way, I first started looking at the solution from one tool's perspective. I would try and find a workaround if this tool can solve this problem. Even if it would not do it directly, I would try and find multiple integrations that would help me eventually use that tool to solve the problem. And I caught myself doing this, and I caught other people also doing that. And there is again nothing wrong, but I truly feel that the first kind of consultants were actually much more appreciated by the clients because they're not going with any agenda. To be honest, they are not going with an agenda that, okay, if I know this tool and if I pitch it, it would come to me and they will consider me as an expert. In fact, it did the opposite. Because you don't have a very specific tool in mind, they also feel that, okay, this person is thinking, this person is going to go back and provide the best solution. I think I loved observing this, and I am happy that I also caught myself falling into the second bracket, because after that I realized that my actual skills are somewhere towards the first type of consultant. It's only because I started learning about one tool and I got obsessed with it that I started thinking like the second one. But when I started consulting, it started with the first kind of skill set. And the combination of two is really like good. But what I'm trying to say is, when I looked at my skills, I realized that I love learning tools. In my free time, it's weird that a lot of people find time to, go out, have hobbies, all of that. One of my hobbies is actually learning random tools. I nerd out on those tools for a long, long time. And how it helped me is that I realized that, okay, I really need to get out of wearing the hat of the second consultant and flip over to the first one, where I really need to look at the business problems of my client, go back, do my research, find the best possible solution that I can. And because I also have the skill to learn the tool really quickly and find other people in the community who probably have better knowledge of the tool than I have, then I can reach out and connect the client to them, or be a middle person doing the execution. And if something complex comes in, I can always reach out. And I think this worked brilliantly for me, because then I was, whenever I used to talk to clients, I would not have a tool in mind. So I would not suggest tools just for the sake of suggesting tools. I would look at the problems, actually go back deep into drawing it step by step, understanding where it's failing, what is something that can be fixed, what are the new tools in the market that can help it do quickly and in a faster way. Because sometimes what happens is the kind of the tools that you have learned probably might not fit the problems of this time, or in the age of AI they might feel outdated. To be honest, I've seen that with so many clients and tools. Eventually they have to let go of that tool because it's not solving the current age problems, and then they have to find another tool. So I've seen all of that as well. And when I realized all of it, I also realized that I really don't want to shape my career around one tool, because one, I genuinely as a human being don't want to be biased for one tool and suggest that irrespective whether it would solve their future problems or not. Second, what if this becomes obsolete in future? I would not want to get into anything and like that would end and then restart my career from scratch. I know that while learning the tools you also gain a lot of skills which are transferable. I shape my entire career around one tool when I can actually learn the skill and then apply it across tools. So this understanding just blew my mind, and that's when I decided that I really don't want to shape my career around something that can, end tomorrow. I will always have skills, and also I'm the kind of person who keeps learning new skills, keeps learning about the new tools in the market. So this is exactly what the future businesses also would need: somebody who knows about what's going on right now, and they will have newer kinds of problems. So somebody who can have that figure it out sort of mindset, they will be able to do this really quickly. An example of this would be, I was working with two freelance clients where their initial requirements looked very similar, very, very similar. So initially, when I was working with them, trying to understand what the requirements are, I thought that, okay, there's one tool which was N10, might solve their problems. And I was working with that sort of like bias in my head. And when I scoped it further, when I had a lot of discovery calls with each of these clients, I realized that the first client does not actually need that complex a workflow. Their demands are really like easy, so it does not have to be an N10 sort of like complex workflow, which eventually happened for the second client. So on paper, it felt like, okay, if I knew one tool, I can, do it for so many clients because mostly the requirements are similar. But when you break it down, you realize that, okay, if you can make something less complex, easy, and something that the client can handle, suggest that. And that's what happened. I ended up using two different tools for these two different clients. One was a very simple chat bot using Chatbase, and the other one we had to use N10. And then there was a third one, which I, of course, gotten into later. That client came to me later, but we used a very different workflow for them, which did not include N10 or Chatbase or any of that thing. We actually went and scoped for another tool altogether. So, what my understanding out of all of these experiences was that you really, at the end of the day, need the skill. If you can learn the tools quickly, if you are somebody who can figure it out on the go, if you are somebody who can nerd it out really smartly, the tools that you work with, if you are somebody who's not afraid to ask for help from people who have more understanding of that one tool that you work with, then I don't think so anyone can stop you. Like, if you have all these skills together, you can figure things out very quickly, and the clients generally tend to trust you even more. And of course, a lot of people would have argument that, hey, if you are doing consulting, you need to have a very deeper understanding of one tool. And yes, in some cases, yes, but I've seen that fall flat as soon as the business requirements get tricky, and then people end up putting in together random tools to work together, and that does not work. So my question to you is, if the tool that you are working in becomes obsolete, what's your plan? What will you do next? List down in comments. I would love to hear it.